Welcome to this session. What if Jurassic Park had an Anywhere Workspace? Bonjour, that's the only French word you probably heard me say today. Unfortunately, I don't speak French that well. Before we dive into all the technical details, let me introduce myself. My name is JOHAN van Amersfoort. I'm a nerd. I'm part of the ITQ team, have been for over 8 years, and I love everything that has to do with a digital workspace. Within ITQ, I'm responsible for our technical vision and strategy for the digital workspace and user computing, everything that happens with the end user. I'm creating content, a lot of content. This is one of the videos I created with Brian Madden on our YouTube channel. If you haven't seen any of these videos, you can check out the URL. I also wrote a couple of books, primarily at designing or focused on designing virtual desktop infrastructures. One of the books, the part 2, you can win it today if you go around all the sponsors with the passport to prizes thing. We'll raffle the second book today, which is signed. I also create podcasts. The first one is primarily focused at EUC, and the second one is a podcast I create with Duncan Epping and Frank Denneman. Frank is here today as well. It's called Unexplored Territory, and it's really awesome. We interview guests every 2 weeks and talk about VMware technologies, and also mostly about the business value of the technologies. Everyone can talk about vSAN or vSphere or something else, but how should you use it? What's the benefit? What's the value out of using it in specific uses, etc. So it's really awesome. Please check it out if you haven't done yet. Now, this session is primarily focused at the art of the possible. And for the last couple of years, I've presented about the art of the possible in different types of topics. In 2020 at VMworld, I launched a session about data science on VDI, in which we talked about running data science workloads, machine and deep learning workloads within a virtual desktop, which is an actual use case by leveraging Bitfusion, for instance, or vGPU. And last year, I got the honor of presenting a session about running virtual reality within Horizon, so offloading VR workloads in a VDI platform. And this year, I'm going to talk about today, I'm going to talk about a topic that's pretty trending, and it's a high priority for most organizations, which is security. Today, specifically about security in the workspace. And what I would like to do today is ask you or answer a couple of questions. So first question I'd like to answer is, what should a digital workspace which is secured look like? What should it look like? Purely from an end user perspective, because that's where most security related issues and risks come from the end user. And I'll explain in a bit why. What solutions would decrease an attack surface? The smaller the attack surface, the smaller the risk for your organization. So how can we create a small attack surface as small as possible? The employee, like I mentioned, is one of the main challenges when it comes to security. So how can we ensure that the employee actually feels secure? Not only, like, we as IT can put a label on a desktop and we think it's secured, but the employee itself needs to be secured as well. They need to have a secure feeling about what they're doing. And finally, how can we achieve all of this without increasing overhead to IT, or too much overhead to IT? Because we can, like, imagine NSX. NSX is a great solution, but if you want to implement NSX, you probably need to hire 1 or 2 or 3 or maybe 4 employees to fully manage NSX on a day-to-day basis. And that's a challenge by itself. So how can we implement a zero trust strategy, for instance, but keep the administrative overhead to bare minimum? Now, this session was called What if Jurassic Park had a modern workspace? Who remembers the first movie? Okay, so who can explain what went wrong in the first movie? I won't bite. Hard.
Somebody stole the eggs, huh?
Yeah, someone stole eggs, but why?
Somebody is saying.
Yes, but why? So it's a good answer. So if someone stole eggs, that's good, and he did that to earn more money, but why?
I don't remember the script exactly. So.
Anyone else?
Because he was not enough paid by his employer.
Bingo. The entire fiasco of Jurassic Park could have been avoided by just hiring more than one IT guy. That's it. Or pay more. And this is a challenge by itself. And Jurassic Park is not unique. I thought this was going to be a good gimmick, like a nice joke during a session. While I was writing this presentation and reflecting a couple of things that I wanted to talk about to a couple of colleagues, we found out that Jurassic Park, like siloed IT or hiring just one person at that does stuff at a company, is not unique. A lot of companies have just one person that does a single task. Now, that is something that we're going to talk about today. Organizations focused at IT silos, focused at having single tasks with a single end user or a single admin, and having kind of traditional IT are organizations that currently still focus on building or maintaining an IT-defined workspace. So we define basically everything for the end user. Take a laptop. We order the laptop for the end user, we provision it, we fully configure it, we deploy applications on it, we secure it, and then we hand it over to the employee. So this is your new workspace, use it. And that's it. They cannot install applications on it. If they have a challenge, they need to call IT, and that by itself is a challenge as well, and I'll explain in a bit why. Because one of the reasons is, if you have one IT guy, let's call him Dennis, and Dennis, well, has a challenge. Dennis is underpaid, or Dennis, I don't know, hits a tree when driving home, or hits a dinosaur when he drives home, and he went rogue. Then your organization was heavily depending on Dennis, and Dennis is not there anymore. Business processes or business critical processes will probably fail, and that's something you want to avoid. Now, I mentioned the IT workspace. Who's familiar with this model? A couple of hands, nice. So this is the digital workspace journey model. And this is a model that we use to basically create a map of a customer. So we go into a customer, we ask all sorts of questions, we assess the customer basically, and based on the maturity of the customer, we pinpoint in which of the areas the customer is currently focusing on. So the IT-defined workspace is at the far left. At the far right, and I'll cover that in a bit, is the digital enterprise, and this is where you want to be heading. The more mature your digital workspace is from different aspects, the more far right you will be. So you can see, for instance, looking at the application side of things, traditional software packaging is at the far left, while modern app delivery and unified app catalogs are at the far right. I was working with a customer for quite some time that was fully at the IT-defined workspace. And one of the aspects of such a workspace is, or such a workplace is, that there might be resistance from between the end users or between certain teams and IT. And what we found out when talking to end users is that the IT department at the customer was actually known as the department of no. That's definitely a place you don't want to be in. Where you want to be in is, again, the digital enterprise, where you use the technology to drive business, to drive your or to ensure that the technology can benefit you in all sorts of things. So a lot of self-service, a lot of like security from a modern perspective, and I'll show in a couple of demos what that should look like. And one of those solutions that we could use to bring customers here is the VMware Anywhere Workspace. Who's already familiar with the solution? Okay. So what it basically is a suite. It's not a product. It's not a checkbox you can add in some kind of cloud portal and then suddenly you have the Anywhere Workspace. It's a suite of solutions. So first of all, it's a part of the suite is the UC stack. So the traditional stack of Workspace 1 and Horizon. Then we have the security aspect of the Anywhere Workspace, which is carbon black and in this case secure access. And finally, a bit of connectivity through SD-WAN and the VMware tunnel. Now, why should an organization invest in a modern workspace? What we've seen with multiple customers, but also like multiple organizations in general, is that for a long, long time, they have been investing in physical workspaces with slides and barbecues and I don't know baristas and all sorts of awesome stuff that attract new employees to an organization. And once they are being onboarded in their traditional workspace, they don't find that organization that attractive anymore. And this is not, I'm not like explaining this as a risk or something like that. True story is that my wife got a new job about 2 months ago, and the organization she was going to work for had a really awesome office, not with a slide, but they did have food in the morning and a massage therapist she could book like every week. Really awesome benefits. And then she needed to be onboarded on her first day, which took, I shit you not, 3 weeks. So after 3 weeks, she could fully use her laptop with the applications on it, and she could finally work from home. Now, I've been in the lucky position to work with a lot of customers, and customers, if they hire us, sometimes want us to act on their behalf. So we need to be onboarded in the platform as well. Imagine, and flexible work is here to stay, that you need to go through an onboarding process every 3 weeks before you can actually work at the customer or work as an employee. That's definitely something you want to avoid. Onboarding is something you can do in 10 minutes, literally. And I'm going to show you now that that's true. So enough with slides, it's time for demos. First demo, onboarding. One of the most important aspects of a digital workspace. How can I onboard new employees into the digital workspace? Now, I'm going to unbox a device, power on the device, and drink coffee. Hypothetically then. So, what you can see here is an actual demo I fully recorded of the actual onboarding of a new device, which was onboarded through factory dropship provisioning. The timer there is going to time from 0 to 10 minutes, and at some points in time I fast forwarded the demo, so you'll see the clock fast forward as well. Reason being, I don't like waiting for 10 minutes for some stuff. The Microsoft minutes are sometimes a bit boring. So, device was turned on, timer starts running, and it'll like get ready for 2 minutes, 2-3 minutes. We saw a VMware logo, which I'll explain in a bit. We have a moment. Again, these are Microsoft minutes. Instead of coffee, I'll drink a sip of water. Right, first thing the end user has to do is sign in with their Azure AD credentials. Select a domain from Workspace 1. Four minutes in. Next thing that will happen is that Windows Hello is pre-configured, so I want a primary form of multi-factor authentication already. So I got a message on my phone to approve it, add my PIN, because I don't like passwords. 5 minutes in, and we see a desktop for the first time. Now, you get a message from Workspace 1 stating that the hub is ready, and due to my lab, the end user has to select the domain again. In a normal situation, that's not the case. And after 6 minutes, we are welcomed. And the next thing that will happen is that the first thing that will happen is that Carbon Black is being installed. It's really important. End user hasn't done anything yet. So the Carbon Black sensor was installed. I see my applications. And the next thing that will happen, we're 8 minutes in, is that the VMware tunnel is being installed. Again, another important aspect, and I'll explain in a bit why. And I talked about things like secure feeling, and I'll show in this demo what that means. Reboot again, I add my PIN, because again I don't like passwords, and the next thing that will happen is that the end user will get a push notification, we're 9 minutes in, stating, hey Han, you have successfully enrolled and secured your device, enjoy working on it, cheers, your friends from IT. 10 minutes. This is what onboarding should look like. Powering on, and within 10 minutes I can work. That's it. And I can work in a secure way. The reason why we started applying security related features, policies, application, tunnels, is because an end user doesn't want to be bored with like security policies. I don't want to approve anything. I don't want to install a virus scanner or a tunnel or a VPN or whatever, because it doesn't work. I know from first hand, because I still work at customers that demand that I install a VPN client on my laptop that needs to be started up, and it's boring. Now, next demo. Almost. Still have a couple of slides. Why do you want to apply all of those security features? I think it's simple. One thing that we know for sure is that an end user will break stuff. And not because they abuse a system or do security related things that you don't want. They misuse a system. That's a fact. They will connect through a public Wi-Fi connection in which they don't know if it's secure, yes or no. They will go to a conference, get USB drives from vendors, and trust the vendor because a logo is on the USB flash drive and they think it's secure. True story. A couple of weeks ago at Explore, vendors are still handing out flash drives. If I hypothetically would buy 10 flash drives and would put a logo of a trusted vendor on it, I know for sure that within a week, 10 of those flash drives will probably dial home back to me, and I am full admin of those machines. True story. And finally, I'm not the only one, but end users do dislike passwords. They'll write them down, or they'll create a password like summer 22. And as soon as they have to change it, it'll become winter 22 or autumn 22. It'll happen. Now, we want to avoid that. More demos. I'm going to show the tunnel. I'm going to go through the config of the tunnel and show application transparency. Reason being, I want if they connect to a public Wi-Fi connection, I shouldn't be caring about that. So, starting point was where we finished the previous demo. I got the push notification, and the next thing I will do is open up the tunnel config. Tunnel is automatically deployed. It is configured for Chrome and all domains. And what I'm going to do for sake of the demo is start Chrome and Edge. So this is Edge, that is Chrome. Chrome is managed and tunneled, Edge is not. In a normal situation we would tunnel Edge as well. What I'm going to do, and sorry, it's a Dutch website. I'm going to go to a gambling website in Edge. Copy the URL, paste it in Chrome, and as you can see, the domain is automatically blocked, so the end user cannot do anything without them having to configure anything or install anything. So this is automatically, after enrollment, configured for them. Now, what if they bring back a flash drive or download something that is could be a risk? In the next demo, I'm going to show SASE working with an EDR. In this case, Carbon Black. So we're going to browse towards a weird website. I'm going to download malware and let VMware do magic. Starting point is again where we ended the previous demo. Edge, unmanaged. Chrome next to it, fully managed. If I go to Chrome and try to download malware, this is icar.org. You can download malware, test malware for free. As you can see, Cloud Web Security interferes, so the end user cannot download the malware. If I do the same in an unmanaged browser, in this case, I can download it, but if I open it up and double click it, you can see that Carbon Black interferes. So it's another, it's basically stepped up security. So you take another step to ensure that whatever the end user does, it doesn't pose a risk. Right. Next demo. I don't like passwords. No one does. So we're going to show a first version of passwordless that's actually capable of being implemented right now. I'm going to show SCEP, which is a feature in Workspace ONE. I'm going to access the Intelligent Hub, start an application, and you will see that it doesn't really require a password anymore. Now, this is a conditional access policy. Who's familiar with these policies? Okay. What you basically do is, in this case, all of my ranges, the network ranges, and Windows 10 devices being in such a range will authenticate first through a certificate and then through a password if the certificate is not available. And this is basically a set of policies you would normally configure for all of your devices inside Workspace ONE. Now, what I'll show next is, again, the Workspace ONE Hub, the Intelligent Hub. I'm going to start Outlook Online. And what will happen next is that through single sign-on and the selection of a certificate, normally the selection isn't there, but for the sake of the demo it is, you'll be SSO into in Outlook. You would say, well, but it's SAML configured, right? So what's with the certificate? SAML is not a security feature. The only thing that SAML does is take your authenticated user information, push it through, in this case, an Office application, that's it. But that's not security. That's just enablement of kind of a passwordless situation. What we did there is generate a security certificate that is added as an additional step of authentication and make sure that if a device is enrolled, they can indeed SSO into Office. Now, I wrote 2 books about VDI. I am a VDI guy. I do like Workspace ONE, but I am a VDI guy. And I might always be, I don't know yet. So, what I'm going to show you now is something you have for sure not seen before. This is hot off the presses, something we built with VMware, and I'm going to show it for the first time, like the really first time, to a broader public at Explore in Barcelona. Who has seen the solution, the keynote, the general session at Explore US? The keynote, VMware Explore US? Ooh, not that many hands. Right. Who has heard from the phrase developer experience? Right. Okay. So developer experience is really cool, but the only thing that VMware has talked about in the general session is the developer experience from the application up. Now, one of the things that we do is we offer so we have a team of cloud native developers, right? And one thing that we always hear when they are working at a customer is that how crappy their workspace is, how limited they are in creating code because they don't have administrative permissions on their machine. If they want to install something, they're prohibited again. They don't. It's a shitstorm. So we thought, what if we can bring the power of VDI and the modern management aspect of Workspace ONE together, and basically build a solution in which we literally can generate a new desktop for an end user, fully modern managed, fully secured, and tailored to what he or she will be doing. If you are a Java developer, we'll automatically install the Java tools. If you are a CAD developer, we'll install CAD tools and configure a GPU. Now, that's something that I'm going to show in the next demo. The demo itself needs to be a bit tailored. You're probably the second group in the world that's going to see it, so if you have any feedback, please give it. I'm really open to it. So I'm going to show a logon in Horizon. So you'll see a user signing into an Horizon desktop. It will be customized a bit. Then you'll see the hub being opened, the intelligent hub. And the user enrollment is the first thing that the end user needs to do. And then I'll show you Freestyle Orchestrator and Workspace ONE Intelligence with a couple of workflows that we built to automatically install, in this case, .NET Core. Right, and I might pause the demo sometimes. Right, so we sign into a virtual desktop, and this is again like the first thing that an end user sees when a device is configured. The hub automatically starts, and the first thing that the end user needs to do is add her or his credentials. Oh, as a note, dude, that's even better. So what you saw, let me go back a bit. This is one of the things that I need to tailor. Yeah, here. You can see that Carbon Black and the tunnel already pre-configured, pre-installed. All security-related policies are policies tied to a machine. So what we do here is we pre-stage a virtual desktop as soon as it has been provisioned. So it's ready for the end user to sign into, and everything that is security-related is already distributed to the end user. So as soon as they sign in, the only thing that has to happen is a user-based configuration, while everything that was tied to the system, like security profiles, are already applied. Now, there's a set of applications already available, and we'll switch over to Workspace ONE. So what you can see here is a set. So this is a NUC, but these are all virtual machines. And you can see here that this is a virtual machine that just has been staged, so it's not fully enrolled yet. Just the machine enrollment part is done. And these are already enrolled. see is that there's a tag here called secured, and these machines have that tag already. And why that's important is something I'll show in the next bit. So this is one of the workflows that is started as soon as a desktop is provisioned and the end user signs in. So we'll tag it as a virtual desktop, and this is something that's new in Workspace ONE. This was released about a couple of months ago. So Workspace ONE is now fully capable of detecting if something is a virtual desktop. And what I do here is place an additional tag, and you can compare it a bit to a vSphere tag, and use that tag to apply policies or deploy applications. So this is an action coming from Workspace ONE Intelligence. If the tag is there, or if a machine is part of a certain context, then put a tag on the machine. And what I'll show to force the workflow is test it. So the machine I'll select is the actual machine that was enrolled the last time. This is normally not something that you would do because it happens automatically, but this is just for sake of the demo. I'll run the automation workflow in Workspace ONE Intelligence to place the actual tag on the, or to force the placement of the tag already on the machine. Now we'll go back to Workspace ONE UEM, and what you'll see in a bit is that there will be a tag appearing in a bit. So what happens if the tag is placed is that this is Freestyle Orchestrator. This is a new solution, has been released about 6 months ago for the general public, and this is the thing that you will see in the future more and more and more and more. Sean Bass announced something that's called desired state management, which is a common term already used in for instance, the cloud native world. But we're going to use the same type of technology to create a desired state outcome for a device. So if we want to have a device fully configured with applications, security states, etc., we define it here, and this tool will make sure it will happen. It's basically SCCM, but a lot better. Because again, well, SCCM was built in 2003, 2004-ish. No, I'm not making that joke. Are there Microsoft people here? Okay. Enough jokes about SCCM. Yeah, so what's going to happen is I'm going to install Notepad++, install Microsoft Visual Studio, and install Python automatically. And based on the fact that there's a tag on a machine. So if the tag is placed, this will happen automatically. So the tag should appear. It did. So that's there. And if we go back to the machine, you will see that Notepad++ is being automatically installed. And this was fast forwarded a bit, but also Visual Studio is going to be installed. What I did in this demo, just because we needed to get it ready in time, is let Workspace ONE download Visual Studio instead of having it ready in a repository, because obviously it'll be a lot faster. A second thing that we're currently working on, and that's roadmap, and I'm hoping, fingers crossed, to have it ready before Explore, is that we're going to support app volumes for virtual full clones, virtual desktops full clones, and have like an app stack with all of the development tools for a Microsoft developer or for a Java developer ready in an instant. And configurable, attachable through Freestyle Orchestrator. Right, a couple of considerations for if you want to use this. Currently persistent VDI only, because a non-persistent VDI in the form of an instant clone will deprecate is gone when you sign out. So then you have to pre-enroll everything again and again and again, so that doesn't really work. Staging enrollment during the provisioning phase of a desktop is really important. And the customization ends with the deployment of Intelligent Hub. What you normally would do if you create a customization specification in vSphere with the license, the Windows license in it, the domain stuff, etc. You configure a custom script that does the staging enrollment, and that ends with the deployment of the Intelligent Hub, logically because the end user needs to have the hub to do stuff. So that needs to be ready before the user signs in. And finally, if, the user signs in, they'll get the enrollment bit, and they can basically do their work. Now, we talked about a lot of features and a lot of security policies and security solutions. One of the things that I didn't talk about yet that much is the secure feeling. User perspective, user perception, perceived performance, perceived basically everything is one of the things that we had a challenge with measuring. And the only way to actually know if, for instance, a project is succeeded, an EUC project, is to know what the end user thinks of the things that we've done, right? And perceived performance is something that's, again, hard to measure. So true story, I was 2016, I did my VCDX on a project I worked for in Abu Dhabi for a large CAD supplier. And before I came into the project, the average log-on time at that customer was 45 minutes. 45 minutes. So employees got on, came in into the morning, they turned on their Zero client, went to the coffee machine, had a chat with colleagues, maybe got a little bit of breakfast, and they came back and they could work. Now, we were able to reduce the log-on time after 5-6 weeks to 2 minutes due to their application landscape. Customer was beyond happy, beyond satisfied, and we did some more work for them as well as a result. Now, if I leave a hospital with an average log-on time of 2 minutes, they'll probably don't let me leave the company premises alive. So user perceived performance, user perspective is really important in this case. 2 minutes doesn't say anything about user experience. Nothing. Could be good, could be bad. Now, there's a way to manage that, or to monitor that, through microsurveys. What we're going to do is access the Intelligent Hub, fill in the survey, and see the results. So again, Intelligent Hub will end with a message. Thanks for enrolling. We hope you like your workplace, and to actually know that, we send out a survey. So the end user clicks on the survey, basically gets 3 questions. Did you enjoy the onboarding? Absolutely. I onboarded all of my devices as we speak, or kinda, but please allow poker games to your tunnel because my real job is boring, or please don't let me experience that again. Next question, do you feel secure? Yes, I feel like I'm in Fort Knox, but without being limited at what I can do, sort of, but where are my poker games? Or not really, I'm still afraid to download somewhere, VirtualLocker or something else. And finally, would you like to have more assistance at this moment? Nope, I'm good. Poker games, or please come over now. The power of such a microsurvey is that it literally says it, microsurvey. So you don't want to bore an end user every week with a 10-question survey with all sorts of open questions, etc. This shouldn't take longer than 30 seconds to answer, because in that case it has a proper user experience and users will use the survey. Now, all of the end users will fill this in, obviously, and at the end of the road you can see all of the results inside Workspace ONE Intelligence, which we'll hop over now. Yes. So you can see, well, and this is my lab, but you can see that it has been filled in. And what's really cool is, in this case, I can just see what the survey results were, right? How many people have actually filled it in, what they answered, and I can use this to measure my own success within the project. But what's really cool is that these results are actionable. So I can use the results as an outcome and create additional automation frameworks or additional steps to, for instance, if an end user is not happy with Teams, I can automatically install Zoom for the end user with an extra set of questions. So I can do all of this through Workspace ONE Intelligence and Freestyle Orchestrator. And I think by offering this to your IT, we can definitely get a better employee experience, smoother onboarding, more secure environment, without having that much an increase of administrative overhead. So, to conclude, employees are the key to success, so listen to them and make sure that you apply the right type of workplace for them to use. What's really important is that you need to start with low-hanging fruit. We've been working with customers that want to apply a full zero trust environment, full zero trust policy. Okay, and then the next question is, okay, what does that mean, right? So, what do you want to do? Yeah, I want to do this, I want to like micro VPNs and micro segmentation, and I want to have data classification, like the whole shebang. And then you start calculating, and we create an offer, and it takes about 3 to 4 years for them to fully implement zero trust. And then after 3 to 4 years, you know for a fact that all of the security related risks that occurred like 3 to 4 years ago have been updated. So security related issues and risks that are new today are old tomorrow, and vice versa. So start with low hanging fruit. Implementing the tunnel is something that's done in, I don't know, a week. Implementing SASE and configuring secure access is done in a day. Start with those things, implement Carbon Black, configure it, integrate it with Workspace ONE Intelligence. It's fairly simple to implement, and within, let's say, 2 months or a month, I don't know, you can reduce the attack surface of your environment to a bare minimum, which is hardly done. You cannot implement NSX in a week. Well, you can, but then it's probably deny all for everything, and that's, from a user experience perspective, is going to be a challenge. And finally, don't be like Dennis. So, I think we still have 2 or 3 minutes. Are there any questions? If there are, I'll be probably at the booth the rest of the day, so please come by, say hi, and enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you.